Okay, boys and girls, we're going to dive right in today about fractions greater than 1, but we're going to review with starting with what we learned last week about fractions. Last week, we learned some terms about fractions. We discussed that fractions can be a part of a whole. So when we are talking about a fraction, we can take something and we can divide it into parts. So I took one whole here, and I have now divided it into 4 equal parts. And we also discussed that we wanted to make sure that when we had fractions, we were always showing equal parts. So of this whole that we have here, I'm going to shade in some parts. And when I shade in these parts, I see that I shaded in 3 of the parts. So when I shade in each of these parts, I know that I have 4 parts. My numerator always tells me how many parts I'm discussing, and my denominator tells me how many parts in whole. So this part right here would be worth 1/4, and this part would be worth 1/4, and this part would be 1/4, and this part would be 1/4. So if I wanted to talk about how many of my shapes were yellow, of my yellow shapes, I have 1, 2, 3 of those. So therefore, we have 3/4 that are yellow. If I wanted to talk about how many were white, I have 1/4 that were white. So if I had the 3/4 and the 1/4 and I put them both together, all together I would have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. So the whole thing is 4/4. We also discussed how one part of it, or 1/4, was the unit fraction. Then we started talking about what we could do if we wanted to show what that looked like on a number line. So we compared our model to a number line, and we know that when we have a number line, it has to start and it has to end. And when we were starting and ending, we were saying, well, if we didn't have any part, it would be 0. And if you had the whole thing, it would be equal to 1. But then we took our lines that we had inside of our model and we lined them up to make our tick marks on our number line. And then we were able to model our number line and label it to say that this point, if we hopped, we would be hopping from here to here, and that would be 1/4. And then if I hopped again, it would be 2/4. And if I hopped again, it would be 3/4. And if I hopped again, it would be 4/4. So just to quickly review, when we have a shape and we divide it into pieces, each part of the shape or of the model is called its unit fraction. In this case, we had 4 pieces, so each unit fraction had a value of 1/4. When we shade in a part or we are focused on certain parts of the fraction, the part that we are focused on is the numerator. So if we were focused on the yellow parts, we had 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Our numerator tells us how many parts that we are focused on, and our denominator tells us how many parts it takes to make the whole. If we were talking about the white parts, we only have 1 out of the 4 parts, so that's 1/4. And we can represent the whole as a fraction as well because we have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 part. So 4/4 makes a whole. All right, so that brings us to what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to begin talking about what happens when we have more than one whole. So we're going to draw a shape. And inside of that shape, we are going to put it into parts. And when we put it into parts, this time we are going to have 4 parts. 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts. And this time we're going to say that we have all of the parts shaded in. And then we're going to draw another shape. And with that other shape, it's going to be the same size as our first shape. If I can get it to draw. Let's see. There we go. Sorry, having some technical difficulties today. It doesn't want to keep drawing for me. There it goes. And then inside of that shape, we will also put it into 4 equal parts. And when we put it into 4 equal parts, we will also shade in some of those parts. Okay, so when we're looking at these now, we know that we can talk about each of the parts. And when I look here, I know that I have 4 parts, so I know that this is 1/4, and this is 1/4, this is 1/4, and this is 1/4. I also know that this is 1/4, this is 1/4, this is 1/4, and this is 1/4. So when I am looking at how much I have all together, I have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, all together. And we also know that we said if we have this whole thing, that is 4/4 or 1 whole. And right here I have 2/4. So I could say that I have 6/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, or I can say that I have 1 whole and 2/4. So 6/4 or 1 and 2/4. Now, if I want to represent that on my number line, I have to really start to think. I know that my number line begins and ends. If I didn't have anything, I know that I would be at 0. But what should I put here at the end? Well, let me think about it. I have 1 whole picture, 2 whole pictures. So I'm going to put a 2 down here at this end. Now I need to figure out my tick marks. Well, 1/4. There was another one. There was another one. I'm going to put one right here in the middle where those 2 would touch. Then another one. And another one here. And another one there. So if I were going to label and I were jumping from 0 to here, I would say I went 1/4. And when I go 1 more, I would go 2/4. And another one would be 3/4. And another one would be 4/4. And if I kept going, I would have 5/4. And another hop would be 6/4. And another hop would be 7/4. And another hop would be 8/4. So let me see what we learned here. If I hopped 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, and 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4. Up here we said that 4/4 was the same as 1 whole. So where I have 4/4 right here, I think that's the same as 1 whole. Hey, I wonder if 8/4 is the same as 2 wholes. If I had 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4, if I had it all colored in, would I have the 2 wholes? You're right, I would. You guys are geniuses. Now I want you to go ahead and I want you to try the quiz on the next page. Each one is going to show you a model, and then after the model, it's going to show you the number line. I want you to use what's already in the number line to see if you're able to figure out how much is shaded in.